G'day guys. So today's video is going to be video number 1 of possibly two, three, maybe even 4 videos of the Dancing Wings Ugly Stick. Now, I have been preparing for this little build series for a little while, and what I'm going to be doing is I won't be building this plane like I have done with other models. You'll see what I mean. So this is a small plane that I got off AliExpress. Comes in kit form, and what we'll do is we'll just go straight over to the workbench and we'll have a look at it. So here it is, guys. This is the Dancing Wings. I guess the official designation is 0.6 meter stick. So I got this because I was inspired by a couple of things. Well, by couple of videos I've seen on YouTube. So, like I said, I got this off AliExpress. It is an ugly stick, and its wingspan is actually 580 millimeters. So I guess that's why they call it the 0.6 meter stick. So I'm not sure if that's the actual name designation, but anyway. So I bought this, and like I said, I got it off AliExpress, and you can get it in 3 or 4 configurations. So you can get it in just this form, where it is just the bare frame. You can get it as the frame and covering. You can get it, that's right, yeah, and you get the frame, the covering, and servos, or you can get it frame, covering, servos, and electronic speed controller and motor. So essentially this model is an electric model. However, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. So what I'll quickly do here, so we'll quickly open this up and have a quick game. I have opened this before. This is what you get in the box. We'll put the box down there. So basically you get everything required to make a bare frame. So you got your formers, you got the balsa, you got your push rods and so on and so forth, your control horns, and you get your instructions, and it shows you the tools needed. So you'll need a hobby knife, screwdriver, ruler, some glue, and I'm guessing that's sandpaper. So, like I said, you can get this in a few configurations, and essentially this is an electric model. However, like I said, I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently. And what do you mean, you're probably asking? Well, guys, just a quick little backstory. Probably about a couple of months ago, I received a box of stuff, and a friend of the family, his parents back in the day had a hobby shop, and naturally when you own a hobby shop you're doing the hobbies, and obviously some of those hobbies were model aircraft. So he approached me one day and said, "Hey Gav, since you fly airplanes, do you want this whole box of old hobby stuff?" He said some of it's new stock from the hobby shop, and there's some engines and blah blah blah. I said, "Yeah, sure, I'm not going to say no to that." So I'm just going to sit down here. So in the box were some engines, and one of the engines in particular was this little guy. So some of you who have been in the model airplane hobby for a number of years will know exactly what this is. But for those of you who are unfamiliar, this here is an original Cox 049 control line engine. And this engine has been the inspiration for this build. Now, when I got it, the engine was seized. I unseized it and was able to get it running. Now, if you look on here, those of you who know will know that this is not the original head. Sorry if it's a bit out of focus. So the original Cox 049 engine had what's called a glow head. So in other words, this top bit here was actually the glow plug, I guess you could say, and also the head. However, I bought another engine last year sometime, and it was the same sort of thing. It was called a Wasp, and it was a crappy engine, and I kind of regret buying it. But I bought a Cox 049/Wasp glow plug head conversion. So what this is this head goes on and you can use a conventional glow plug. And this engine runs really good. And I will show you a quick video clip of it running right now. So as you saw, guys, this little engine runs, goes pretty good. I've run it a couple of times, but at my model aircraft club, because unlike your traditional glow engine that has a throttle and exhaust pipe, there is no throttle and there is no exhaust pipe. It is literally, as you can see right there. Hang on a sec, I'll get it down so we can see. But as you can see, guys, that's the piston moving there, and it comes out. And it is friggin' loud. So I didn't want to run it too much and annoy the neighbors. So that's what we're going to be doing, guys. So in this video, we're going to start with the build. But like I said, I'm not going to do it the same way as I have with other videos. But what I'll do is I'll start the build, show my progress, and we will go from there. Alrighty guys, so one of the first things that it is best to do, especially if you've never built a kit before, is have a go over the instructions. Now the instructions are in two parts. So this one here is the main part of the instructions, and it shows you how to it's very simple to put together, but it just goes over all the necessary parts, goes over, shows you what's needed for each step and so forth. The second part is more the finishing up, I guess you could say. You've got how to finish off the wing, because you will need to sand the leading edge of the wing, because it's a block like so. Shows you how to install the servos and so forth, and shows you about covering and that. Now when you've gone over your instructions, it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with all the parts that are there. Just to look over parts, look over all the ribs, see how they're shaped, because see you got some that have got, like for instance, 3 holes here, but these ones only got 2, so forth. So you want to go over it and familiarize yourself with the parts and make sure that all the parts are there and so forth. That way you don't have a trouble, or that way you will have a trouble-free build. So what I'm going to do, guys, is first off I'm going to start tackling the build of the fuselage, and I'll be back. Okay guys, so I have just started with the initial piecing together of the fuselage. Now, one thing I recommend that you do is do it on a really super flat surface. That way when you're gluing things together, it won't be cockeyed, I guess you could say, and won't be twisted. So that just basically helps with the assembly. Now, what I've done is I haven't glued it together yet, but what I want to show you is, so when you are getting ready to start gluing, something like this section here, so I'm going to try and do it one-handed. So when you're going to start the initial gluing process, something like this here, put it down flat like that, so both ends are flush with the surface. And the reason for doing that is when you have it flush with the surface, that means that both sides of the fuselage and your formers will be level, so, and they'll be parallel to each other. So your two sides will be parallel, and then, like for instance, the two formers here will be parallel to each other, and that way they'll be even. Then again, that means your fuselage won't be twisted or warped or anything like that as you're putting it together. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to start the gluing process and I'll be back. Alrighty, guys, so the initial start of the fuselage is underway. Now, there are going to be a couple of things I'm going to want to do with this kit so far before I get too far into the build. One of which is I definitely want to strengthen the motor mount, and I also want to strengthen a couple of parts, because one thing we got to remember is this model is designed for an electric motor. Now, an electric motor, I mean, unless your prop is off balance, there'll be no vibration. Whereas with the little Cox engine, there's going to be some vibration for sure. And so I want to make sure that the, especially the motor plate here at the front, is going to be strong enough to handle the vibrations from the engine. Not only that, I did a quick little test here, but it's just going to be big enough, just big enough to fit onto the front here. So it's definitely going to be the equivalent of putting a 6-litre V8 in a Mini Cooper. So I want to make sure that this is strong enough to cope with the motor. So I'll definitely, once I get certain sections done, so this section here will go underneath, but I want to make sure that once I've done that, I'll go over that and make sure that's strong enough. I also want to go over the servo plate here. Now, even though I'll be using small 2-gram servos and the holes are pre-drilled, I might strengthen along here with some extra wood, just to, better to be safe than sorry. So there's that. So yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on with the rest of the fuselage and joining the ends together. Then what we're going to do is we're going to tackle strengthening this section here. Alright, guys, so made some good progress, and so what I've done is basically I have got the majority of the fuselage assembled. Honestly, guys, this is actually proving to be quite an easy kit to put together. Now, this here this is actually an old offcut of another model that I built years ago. You can see from the outlines here, but I was using this balsa wood for the servo tray. You can probably just see there I put some balsa on underneath here and on the back here. There you can't see it, but you can see too I have also put the two servos in. One's for rudder and one is for elevator. Now for those of you wondering, I'm using for the control surfaces, so for rudder, elevator and aileron, I'm using these Turnigy sub-micro servos. They're 2.5 gram servos. That's what they recommend, like the size. That is their specs. Apparently these are supposed to be digital servos, but I mean, I'll just take that on face value. So I've put those in. They fit very nicely. Now one thing I have done, so like I mentioned before, I was going to reinforce the motor plate a little bit. So let's see, what I'll just use this to point. So as you can see here, I've put some, this is an offcut from this here. This is some plywood. It's an offcut, so I've put some bits the back here behind the motor plate and glued all around, just to give it a little bit of extra strength. Plus it will go, so where did I put the engine? Give me a sec, guys. So here we have the engine, and as you can see, it bolts. I'll try to do this one-handed as best I can. So what I'll do is I'll move this here. So it bolts, see, about there. So as you can see, guys, it just fits. And so where they screw in, where the little mounting holes are for screwing it on, will go through there and mount straight on. So that's how I intend to do it. It'll go straight through those. We'll make some holes. I might even, because you can fill these holes here with, what is it, baking soda and CA glue, just to fill those in just as a filler and also give it a little bit of added strength. So yeah, I've done that. I've got the top part on here, the back here, got the top bit of balsa, and got the underneath on. Now as you can see, there are holes that go along here. I took them all out, however I put this one back on and I have CA glued it. The reason being is I'm going to need somewhere to put my receiver, and so that there will be like a, I guess you could say like a mounting point, maybe, I guess you could call it, mounting point for the receiver. And the receiver battery is going to go up the front here. Now the receiver battery isn't here yet. I've ordered the receiver battery and receiver because I run a Spektrum radio, so it'll be a Spektrum AR410, I think it is. It's an antennaless receiver and a Spektrum receiver battery. So they will be here hopefully for the next video. So I'm going to wrap this video up here, guys. Not much more can be done at the moment. I need to wait for a few more things to arrive before I can continue. So in the next video, guys, we're going to basically wrap up the fuselage build, not including the covering, and then we will move on to the wings. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to drop a comment. And until part 2, enjoy your hobby and cheers.